Is there a narcissist epidemic? There probably is not a narcissism epidemic, but in talking to other counselors around the states, the consensus is that we're seeing more clients where the narcissistic behavior of their spouse is killing the marriage. To be fair, narcissistic behavior has been around probably as long as mankind. To begin with, let's define narcissism. Narcissism refers to certain personality traits that involve self-centeredness, a strong need for attention, an inflated sense of self-importance. Honestly, most of us have had one or more of these traits in our lives at some level at one time or another. I certainly have. Over the years, research has helped us to see that narcissism is on a spectrum, and it ranges from having a healthy self-esteem to narcissistic personality disorder. On the low end of the scale, we can even have a positive trait like self-confidence. On the unhealthy end, we see an entitlement, aggression, and taking advantage of others. Most of the people I see in counseling fall somewhere in between. The farther someone is toward the unhealthy end, though, the less chance for change. So why am I talking about this now? I haven't done a big study, but from the sample I see in the counseling room, it is a bigger problem today than it was 5 years ago. Why? That's a question I always ask. I really think there's a correlation between COVID-19 and the rise in these behaviors. The pandemic gave us various stressors such as financial concerns and health anxieties and increased time spent at home. And I think these stressors may have heightened narcissistic tendencies in some people. They felt a heightened need for control, which often led to conflict in their marriage and an inability to empathize with their stressed out spouse. For example, before the pandemic, Bob was controlling in his marriage. During the pandemic, Bob worked from home and so did his wife. But she was laid off that summer, and money became a huge issue, and Bob controlled every cent. His wife then contracted COVID-19 in the September of 2020, and even though she did need to be hospitalized, she was really very sick. So in 2019, Bob and his wife had both rated their marriage a 5 on a 1 to 10 scale. In 2023, Bob still rated it a 5. His wife's rating dropped to 0. What happened? Well, Bob's need to control was on steroids. He became aggressive in his words and actions. The little empathy he had for his wife completely disappeared. The more his wife tried to talk to him about his behaviors, the worse they became. Bob shrugged off the narcissistic label and he toured with, "I'm just trying to help us survive." On the spectrum, Bob went from around 15% to 75%. In December of 2023, Bob's wife left, and he had no idea why. One final thought. The general consensus is that very few narcissists change. To change, you have to admit that you have a problem, and that's very difficult for a narcissist to do. But I've personally counseled men who've changed, and their dying marriages have been revived, and over time became relationships the most cherished. If we will take it, God always provides an answer and a way out.